Some people say that they benefit from medication. Some people say they increase their quality of life from getting a psychiatric diagnosis. Let it be clear that I am not here to undermine those people. I am not here to talk down to those people, and I feel very deeply with those people. I'm not here to tell these people that they are wrong. I'm here to question the society that we live in and what we have become. Hi, awesome people. I just realized that this month, May, is Mental Health Awareness Month. And it made me want to make this video because mental health is very dear to my heart. I have multiple experiences with mental health and mental illness myself, with the treatment and mistreatment of so, and with the system and its flaws, and with being close to people with mental illness, and therefore I thought it would be interesting to add another perspective to this debate. So that's what I'm going to do today. If you, as me, am interested in mental illness and mental health, subscribe to the channel because I'll definitely be making more videos like this in the future. In this video, I would like to shed some light on the biggest issues I have in connection with mental health and mental illness. For me, the biggest issue is that we have slowly created impossible standards for being normal. When so few people in our society today fit under the definition of normal, the society has a problem, not the individual itself. What I see around here on YouTube is that everybody can tell stories of how they suffered from depression and anxiety and all of this stuff, and it just tells me that the normal is just way too narrow. What this narrow definition of normal means is that people are being overdiagnosed, in my opinion. We have ended up making diagnoses that cover completely normal phases of the human existence. Anxiety is a normal part of life. Depression is a normal part of life. Compulsive, obsessive, or impulsive behavior are completely normal parts of life and parts of different personalities. To some extent, hearing voices in your head is also a normal part of life, at least for some people. But our society does not tolerate these things as a part of a normal existence anymore. And so, diagnoses need to be created. And more diagnoses need to be created. And more and more and more. Like, from we started with the first diagnosis where it was just like, these people have gone totally bonkers and the rest are normal, and to where we are today with an entire book of psychiatric diagnoses. We have created more every year. And the criteria for the individual diagnosis has been lowered and lowered and lowered to a point where you need to have been sad for 2 weeks to have a depression. The issue is that we are getting very close to a point where normal differences in personality and differences in how you deal with sorrow and grief and loss is so close to becoming diagnosis, and for some people they already have been. For instance, the diagnosis of ADHD. Most people who are famous for some kind of artistic outlet, like TV personalities and artists and stuff, they will easily be diagnosed with ADHD because the criteria is so low. And it should not be like that. Creativity should not be a diagnosis, it should be a beautiful thing. Slowly, we are creating a society where the only people with no diagnosis is people who go through high school with straight A's without getting depressed or anxiety over those A's. There's no room for difference anymore, and I hate that. We should be much better at embracing our differences and looking at it as differences, not reasons to give each other diagnosis. Another thing I have a big issue with is the pharmaceutical industry. Because the pharmaceutical industry is the devil of everything, in my opinion. This is an industry that makes money off of people being just so happy that they won't kill themselves and just so miserable that they will need your medication. What is that? Nobody should be making money off of that. This might sound a little tinfoil hat to you. I don't know where you're coming from, but the pharmaceutical industries have time and time again been proven to have falsified and denied evidence of serious side effects of their medication. They have pushed medications out on the street that is nowhere near tested enough and where we have no clue what the effects actually are. Those pills, you have no idea what side effects they could bring. You go in and alter with stuff in the brain and you expect it to only fix your depression and not fuck anything else up. Do you see the problem? And huge meta-analyses have proven that there is just as good as an effect of antidepressants when you use a placebo as when you use the real thing. Yeah, I could talk a long time about the pharmaceutical industry because I just read a book about some of the issues of the industry. Oh, it gives me shivers. Like, you could brain damage young people to make money. You could make young people commit suicide that would have never committed suicide. And you still push your pills on the street. Have you got no conscience whatsoever? Yeah, to me, pharmaceuticals, pure evil. Very few pharmaceuticals are necessary for human living, for obtaining human life. And those pharmaceuticals are very good. And the rest should be seriously looked through once again. And we should throw out like 85% of it. An issue that is not talked about quite as much as these two previous issues is the issue that complete recovery is still not widely accepted. I feel like most people accept the concept of social recovery when it comes to psychiatric diseases because people accept that you can socially function even though you are a schizophrenic or even though you have OCD or whatever. But a lot of people don't completely accept that you can be cured. You can cure your schizophrenia. You can cure your ADHD. People still tend to have this idea that it's a malfunction in the brain, and since it's a malfunction in the brain, you will have to live with it for the rest of your life. People undermine the plasticity of the brain and the changing of one's mind and one's personality. And people should be much better at believing that you can heal yourself. Both as an individual who is sick, you should be empowered by knowing this is not your destiny forever. You can not just get well, but you can heal. You can be completely free of your disease. And not just like, oh, I'm symptom free. No, I'm not sick. I was sick, but now I'm not sick anymore. But also of the people around you, we need to support the sick people in the fact that they should be hopeful. They should be hopeful that one day they will be disease-free. They will be illness-free. But if we, as the bystanders, as the nurse they meet, as their mother, as their sister, as their brother, as whatever, as a friend, we should be the first ones to believe that there is hope, that they can be well, that they can cure themselves. We should be their hope, even if they don't have that hope themselves. But for that to happen, we need to at least start believing that it's possible. That total recovery is possible with any disease. So this next point is probably going to vary according to where you're from. But at least here in Denmark and probably a lot of places in the West, we tend to prioritize medication over actually talking to people. And that's a big issue I have. Like when I was on the psychiatric clinical period of my nursing study, the saying was always like, we have to medicate people first so they will get a little better, and then they will be well enough so that we can talk to them and offer them therapy. And I feel that's bullshit. That is bullshit. You can talk to people who are completely bonkers and completely psychotic. And if you just listen through the noise, you will hear some kind of rational thinking and talking. You just have to listen through the psychotic parts. So when you have somebody who's a little depressed and stuff, the idea that you need to medicate them to be able to talk to them, I believe that's one of the most destructive ideas of the years we're living in. I believe that medicine should always be the last way out. It should be an emergency exit. Like you're on the edge of suicide and you have tried everything. Maybe we should try medication before everything is too late. But if that was the general thought in this society, I think it would rarely even be necessary. If we'd done everything to all measures before that, not a lot of people would get to that point. And this is actually the point of why I love this month so much. Well, I just heard about it yesterday, but having a time to reflect upon it before making this video, I realized I really like that they chose to call it Mental Health Awareness Month. It could have just as well been called like Mental Illness Awareness Month. And it's not that we should undermine mental illness, but mental illness should be a concern of the very, very few people. And mental health should be a concern for everyone. Really, everyone. It's not just that I should be busy taking care of my mental health, because I can't do that alone. Yes, I can adopt some good habits like getting enough sleep or getting exercise or whatever works for you, eating healthy, all this stuff. But if everybody's just so up their own butt about all of their own habits and how to feel good about themselves to keep their mental health top notch, that's really an issue. Mental health is really something that we can improve in the context of being together. I can improve other people's mental health, and you can improve other people's mental health. We gotta step away from the idea that it takes a therapist to fix people. We really gotta get better at just sitting down and listening to people. Not being scared of being a part of people's suffering, people's fears, and people's joys. We should just take part in that. If I can be a part of your grief and sorrow and joy and whatever is on your heart, then I can help you through the process of dealing with this. The more times people around you allow you to tell your story, the more that story will become a story that you're in control of, and the less that story will be what defines you. And that's really important in my opinion. And I think not just in my opinion, I'm actually pretty convinced that this is true. If we just get the chance to tell our stories, that's the best way we can process our lives and get a better understanding of our own lives, our own reactions, and our own way of dealing with things. I know I've learned so much about this by observing and talking to people about how I react when in social situations. Like 5 years ago, if I was uncomfortable in a social situation, I would be completely impulsive and funny and just over the top entertaining. And first when somebody confronted me like, what are you sad about? What are you insecure about? I just snapped and cried for like an hour because I realized there was something here that needed to be worked through. And I've spent the last 5 years working through this and accepting myself as normal and as somebody who just, as everybody else, needed people who would listen to me. And that's what my husband's been doing for the last 5 years, listening to me. And in that way, slowly fixing me. Well, slowly helping me fix myself, to be honest. And with this in mind, I feel like a general misunderstanding is that people think they need therapy as the very first thing I think we should be a lot better at acknowledging the power of talking to each other, of laymen, of just talking to your mom, your sister, I don't know, a good friend, whatever your relationships give you of opportunities. Talk to these people. And then for some people, hopefully for the few, it will still be necessary to see a therapist, and that's okay. But please, please just try being open and talking to normal people first, because probably they will be able to help you fix yourself. So this was just some of my thoughts on mental illness and mental health. I would love to make more videos about this in the future. I have a lot of stories to tell about my own experiences that I'm planning on making videos about, because I feel like it's good to be honest, and I have kind of a lot of baggage in that area. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that and enjoy listening to what I have to say about that later. But for now, this is it. Please tell me in the comments, what's your biggest issue with mental health? Where does it trigger you? And what has really helped you? Because I think we should share both sides of the story. It's not all bad. It's not all bad. But what I shared today is just what I have on my heart, what's really close to my heart. And I hope you liked it. Else just comment below what you disagree on and we can have a nice discussion. So that's all from me for now, and I'll see you soon. We should open up much more so that these people don't have to have had blah 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 blah.